Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please stand for a pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For the record, this is a public meeting of the Bayonne Board of Education. It is 8 p.m., the 28th day of February. We're convening in the Anna J. Herbert Meeting Room. Presiding officer is Joseph Broderick, President of the Bayonne Board of Education. Those in attendance include Dr. Michael Wanko, Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Kenneth Kopaz, Assistant Superintendent for Personnel, Dr. Gary Maida, Board Secretary, Mr. Leo J. Smith, Jr., Assistant Superintendent for Business, Dr. Dennis Degnan, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, Mr. Mitchell Pascal, our Board Counsel. The meeting's open to the public. I will take a roll call. Trustee Alonzo.
Present.
Trustee Cruden.
Present.
Trustee Desmond.
Here.
Trustee Finnerty.
Here.
Trustee Munoz.
Here.
Trustee Ryan.
Here.
Trustee Villado.
Here.
Vice President Wilbeck.
Here.
President Broderick.
Here. For the record, adequate written advance notice of at least 48 hours, given the time, date, and location of this meeting with the agenda, was provided as follows. Notice was prominently posted in City Hall at 630 Avenue C on the bulletin board reserved for such announcements of the Board of Education. The Board Secretary sent such notice to the Jersey Journal and the Bayonne Community News. Notice was filed with the Municipal Clerk of the City of Bayonne, Mr. Robert F. Sloan.
At this time, I'd like to ask our student representative, Mr. Victor Lazaro from Bayonne High School, to please come up and share some thoughts with us.
Good evening, Board of Education trustees, Intern Superintendent Dr. Wanko, Assistant Superintendent Kopaz, Assistant Superintendent Dr. Degman, and Assistant Superintendent Mr. Smith. Elon Musk once said, when something is important enough, you do it, even if the odds are not in your favor. In the light of the recent tragic events that have been occurring throughout our country, the subject of school safety and security concerns have been brought to our attention more than once, that more schools need to voice their opinions about school safety. High schools all around the country are banding together to show of national support with Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, towards the victims of this tragic event. As a school that opens its doors to nearly 3,000 students every day, we at Bayonne High School feel directly impacted. No student should have to fear coming to school. No student should worry about if something dangerous is going to happen on school grounds. No student should have to go through what students in Parkland, Florida, Newton, or Carbine, Colorado went through. Many of the survivors, thousands of teenagers who use social media to document their horror, are not waiting for the adults to make changes to prevent the next school shooting. They are taking matters in their own hands, advocating for stricter gun control laws and more mental health resources for treating their troubled peers. On Tuesday, February 20th, 2018, students at BHS used social media to spread the word of holding a peaceful demonstration for more security guards and better safety on all doors of BHS. The student government spoke with Principal Baccarella about the situation, and after the meeting, we quickly took to social media to stop the demonstration from happening and send a message stating the administration is willing to allow a demonstration when a nationwide walkout happens. On Friday, February 23rd, 2018, hundreds of worried parents descended on BHS to sign their children out of the school after a threat against BHS students circulated on social media, but that BHS out to be a school in New Mexico. We would like to personally thank Mr. Baccarella, Dr. Wanko, and Assistant Superintendent, and the entire staff of Board of Education for helping the students and keeping the calm, as well as help the Bayonne Police Department and the Mayor, James Davis, for reassuring our parents that we are safe in our schools. With that being said, we would like to invite you to join in our walkout on March 14th, 2028. On this day, we, the student high school government, will be holding an event honoring the 17 students who passed away in the Florida school shooting. At 10 a.m. in every time zone across the country, organizers are encouraging teachers, students, and administrators, parents, and allies to walk out for 17 minutes, one for every person killed on Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. We will be also holding this walkout to stand up for more school security and advocating for gun reform in the United States. We hope that you will be available to join us and help reach this important message. Throughout your career, you have shown your commitment to improving education and academic outcomes for Bayonne students. We thank you for your consideration of our invitation and hope you can join us on March 14th for the safety support of the students. Thank you.
I have another student tonight, Daniel. Daniel, would you like to speak now, or is there a particular item you want to talk about later?
I think later, sir.
Okay. At the open portion?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so we'll move to our agenda, and we're going to start with our approval of minutes and our acceptance of communications. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion and second for approval of minutes and acceptance of communications. Trustee Alonso?
Aye.
Trustee Cruden?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Finnerty?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Ryan?
Yes.
Trustee Velardo?
Yes.
Vice President Wilbeck?
Yes.
President Broderick?
Yes.
At this time, we'll start with our superintendent's report of Dr. Michael Wanko. That was that. Okay, I didn't know if we were going to repeat. We'll move right to our consent agenda. We'll start with our curriculum, instruction, and policy. Category A. Before I get to that, Mr. D'Angelo, you have a question on A11. The 2017-18 school nursing plan.
A11 says see attached in terms of, what is the plan?
There is a full plan. I'll be happy to get you a copy of it right now. Your packages only have the resolution.
Right, but if I sit down and you pass it, then it's a little too late for me to object. I don't even know what the plan is about, whether I want to
I
object.
could put it on non-consent, and I could run and get you a copy.
This
Whatever
is
the
done
board
every
would
year.
like me to do.
No,
done every year.
leave it the way it is.
The assignment of nurses and what their duties are.
Well, that's all I want is an explanation because of what we did with the,
Yeah, it's nothing to do with
it
that.
has nothing to affect hiring a new nurse.
No.
Or to alleviate that problem.
No.
This is what?
This is required by the state of New Jersey every single year. You have to list how you have your nurses deployed and why you have them, where you have them, and the type of students they're serving, who's getting medications, who has disabilities. You have to list all the problems.
Good. I'm satisfied with that.
All right, so curriculum committee met. Our agenda is resolutions A1 through A26. Do I have a motion on the curriculum report?
I'll make that motion.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
So I have a motion and second on curriculum. Trustee Alonso?
Aye.
Trustee Cruden?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Finnerty?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Ryan?
Yes.
Trustee Velardo?
Yes.
Vice President Wilbeck?
Yes.
President Broderick?
Yes.
Now, remind the audience and the public, all our resolutions were posted and are on our bulletin board and website. Moving ahead, Finance, Section B, are resolutions B1 through B20. Mr. D'Angelo, I believe B4 you have a question on?
Yeah, I wanted to know what was being transferred from what category to what
Once
area.
again, it's our monthly report. There's a list of pages to go with the resolution. I'll make sure you get them.
But the question is, it's hard to ask an intelligent question when I don't have any information other than you're moving money around. What I'm interested in is, where is the money that you're moving coming from, and where is it going to?
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Well, we'll have to get a report. Every month we do appropriation transfers as a routine matter of business. It's money that's already in the budget. It's just being redeployed to certain areas so we can meet our commitments in those areas. There's no new money, Mr. D'Angelo, if that's what you mean.
I don't exactly know what I mean because I don't understand what you're doing. Let me give you an example. Are you taking monies from the salaries of teachers, that line item, and putting them into desks?
No, not at all.
Also, there was a question from Mr. D'Angelo in regard to B17, the extended school year program.
I'll skip that.
You'll skip that? Okay. And I believe that is the only cards we have for Section B. So we have our agenda, finance. Do I have a motion?
I move.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
So I have a motion and a second on our finance portion. Trustee Alonso,
Aye.
Trustee Cruden,
Yes.
Trustee Desmond.
Yes.
Trustee Finnerty.
Yes.
Trustee Munoz.
Yes.
Trustee Ryan.
Yes.
Trustee Villado.
Yes.
Vice President Wilbeck.
Yes.
President Broderick.
Yes.
Moving ahead, actually, I'd like to make one correction to the record on curriculum instruction and policy, resolution A5, a field trip was tabled. Sorry about that. Next up is our section on personnel. I'll point out that resolution C5, approval of coaches' advisors, is moved from the consent agenda to non-consent. So we have resolution C1 to C14. C5 is being moved. Do I have a motion?
I motion.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Before we get to that vote, I am sorry, C5 is moving on to consent, so we'll wait for that portion. I'm not doing it yet. I'll let you know when we get to it, all right? I have two cards about C5, so we'll get to that. So we have a motion and a second. Trustee Alonso?
Aye.
Trustee Cruden?
Yes.
Is this all for C?
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Finnerty?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Ryan?
Yes.
Trustee Villado?
Yes.
Vice President Wilbeck?
Yes.
President Broderick?
Yes.
Okay, now we'll get to the non-consent portion of our agenda, starting with Resolution D1. Whereas the Bayonne School District has been underfunded for years and faces severe financial constraints that impact directly on the school system's ability to provide the best possible education to its students. Whereas these same financial constraints impact negatively on its relationships with the teaching personnel employed in and by the school district. And whereas the taxpayers of the community are already overburdened with an astronomical high tax rate, which should not be increased any further, but rather offset by the infusion of several $100,000 of new grant money, if not more. Whereas the administrators of the school district need this fiscal latitude to manage the everyday funds affairs of the school system, as well as plan with confidence for the future needs of same. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education should approve the hiring of Jack Butchko, a grants professional with Washington experience, to seek out, write up, apply for, and secure additional funding for the Bayonne School District from numerous sources, both public and private, governmental and non-governmental, to help alleviate any shortfalls at the nominal sum of $31,000 per year, beginning January of 2018. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, at this time, I move to table this resolution.
Okay, Mr. President, we'll table it?
Sure.
Okay, we'll table D1. Yes. Do we? Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a second to table?
Second.
Thank you. Learn something? Okay, D2. Approval to adopt state order recommendations.
We have a question,
go
Mr.
ahead.
Maid, if you don't mind.
Could we make a resolution to put it back on the agenda after someone's, to table it?
have it placed on now.
Yeah.
All right, I'd like to make a resolution to
I
place it back
second
on
it.
now.
And I'll make a move on that, a
I just
motion.
seconded it.
Yeah.
Mary Jane just seconded.
So I'd like to put it back on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay, excellent.
Okay. Can I have that again? Who moved?
I move.
All right. Who seconded?
I seconded.
Mary Jane, thank you. So I have a motion and a second. I'm not going to reread D1. So we have a motion and a second on Resolution D1. Trustee Alonso?
Aye.
Trustee Cruden?
No.
Trustee Desmond?
No.
Trustee Finerty?
No.
Trustee Munoz?
No.
Trustee Ryan?
No.
Trustee Villado?
No.
Vice President Wilbeck?
Absolutely not.
President Broderick?
I'd make a quick statement. I'm sure Mr. Butchko is very qualified. But at this point, as far as funding goes, and Dr. McGeehan for many years has done a terrific job as far as funding, as far as outside grants, there's not anything like that. I thought she did a terrific job on that. And Dr. Wanko is moving in that same direction. This year alone, we received, I believe, over $800,000 in grant money. So I just have to say at this point, I don't think we need that. I think what we do need is the governor on, I believe it's March 13th, to say that we're going to be adequately funded, and I think that would be the big help that we really need. So I'll say,
Bravo.
no at this point.
Okay, next up is Resolution D2. And I apologize. Michelle Halsey filled out a card on resolutions.
Yes,
Anyone in particular, you just stop
I
me.
have a main statement.
So we'll do it at the end? Or would you like to do it now?
I'll do that.
Okay, Michelle Halsey, 134 Humphrey Avenue, asked to please speak on resolutions D1 through D4.
I am the mother of two children ages 16 and 5. My son is a junior at prep and is a product of the Bayonne school system. My daughter is a pre-K student at Henry Harris. Exactly 2 weeks ago today, we had one of the deadliest school shootings in U.S. history. Last week, we had a scare at BHS, and the days that followed, another scare at Henry Harris, my daughter's school. Yet after all that has transpired, here we are discussing renaming the ice rink and tennis courts for people who have done nothing, contributed nothing to our community. Is the lettering that would have to be replaced cheap, Mr. Alonso? Then you have to go through the entire adventure of you attempting to get your buddy, friend, and neighbor, Jack Butchko, hired by the BOE at $31,000 per year. Yet you cry nepotism with regard to that Mr. Broderick's name is on those courts. which he deserves because he has earned it. All that money you're proposing being spent sure could go to improving school safety for all our kids, but unfortunately, our schools and children are not your priority. Since you've stepped on this board, it's been nothing but me, and nothing about the children. Nepotism on your part is more important than our children and our schools and their safety and their lives. Stop wasting our time, that seat that you sit in, and your fellow trustees' time, and let people that do care do their jobs without your ridiculous and useless resolutions. Thank you.
Mr. Butchko is filling a card. Can I accept it?
Yeah.
Next up, we have Mr. Jack Butchko to speak on Resolution D1. We'll allow you to speak, Mr. Butchko.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. As a product of the Bayonne school system, who has gone on to serve in Washington in both the United States Senate and House of Representatives, I came here wanting to help, now that I'm in semi-retirement, wanting to help my community. I thought a nominal fee would be best. Perhaps it's not. I would be willing to do the grant work for the Bayonne School District gratis. I'm providing, of course, at least one of the people who spoke out in opposition to me resigns. I am willing to bring in millions of dollars for free at no cost to the school system. I'm reminded that the former Nobel, well, he's still a Nobel Prize winner, Edward Teller in chemistry, after he retired, he went to his little town in California and wanted to be a chemistry teacher. And he was turned down by a school district because he didn't have a teaching certificate, even though he had a Nobel Prize. I know the ins and outs of grants. Bobby Jones, the great golfer of the 1920s who created the Masters, said there's golf and there's tournament golf, and it's two different games. And knowing the ins and outs of Washington, I know, figuratively speaking, tournament golf. So I just wanted to say I would be willing to help this school district, not only for a nominal fee, which I just figured would be interesting, but I'd be willing to do it gratis on behalf of the people. But if you do not want that, so be it. Thank you very much. And I would think that Mr. Alonso, from what I've seen, is an activist member of the board who is doing his best and is out there on behalf of the people rather than the old political machine. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Butchko. Next up, Resolution D2. Whereas it is a general consensus of the City of Bayonne that this boards that devastating mistakes were made during the 2015-16 school year, whereas a general fund balance deficit was reported, whereas the officer of the state auditor under the New Jersey State Legislature conducted an audit on the City of Bayonne School District from July 1st, 2015 to June 30th, 2016. Therefore, be it resolved that this board adopt all of the recommendations set forth by the Office of the State Auditor in their audit report of November 2017, including the billing of employees on leave without pay who elect to participate in benefits starting July 1st, 2018. Do I have a motion?
I move.
And do I have a second?
I will second this as the first two paragraphs, the first two whereas are removed.
You have to go back to the person that wrote the resolution and
Mr.
ask him if
President?
he's willing to change the resolution.
May I make a motion?
Trustee, yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we table this.
Well, we already have a motion on the floor.
In a second. Well, we don't
I
have
didn't
a second.
second it.
That's
No, we
right.
didn't second.
Not in this condition.
Okay, so is there a second to the original resolution? Okay, not hearing any. Trustee Munoz,
I'd like to make a motion to table this for a later date.
is there a second to table the resolution?
I'll second it.
On that motion and second to table, Trustee Alonso,
Aye.
Trustee Cruden,
Yes.
Trustee Desmond,
Question. Does this delay anything? There you are.
Delays them giving the money.
Which is not going to happen until July 1 if we do it in the appropriately.
If we get it done by.
Aye.
Okay, aye by Trustee Desmond. Trustee Finerty,
Aye.
Trustee Munoz,
Yes.
Trustee Ryan,
Yes.
Trustee Villado,
Yes.
Vice President Wilbeck.
Yes.
President Broderick.
Yes.
So we table D2.
Oops, sorry.
Am I bringing D3 back, folks?
I would like to bring it
My
back.
folks to the right of me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Resolution D3,
I'm confused. I have it, did you table D2A and B?
Yes.
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 Thank you.
So we are up to D3, which I originally said was tabled, but it's not. Whereas Dick Savitt, internationally renowned tennis player, was born in Bayonne on March 4th, 1927. Taught himself to play the sport on our city's tennis courts, never having a tennis lesson in his life, whereas Dick Savitt went on to reach the finals in the New Jersey Boys Championship and was chosen to be team captain for the Cornell University tennis team, whereas Dick Savitt continued over the years to have an outstanding tennis career, being rated #1 in the world by the New York Times in 1951, the same year in which he was ranked #1 on the United States Davis Cup team, whereas Dick Savitt was a Grand Slam singles winner at Wimbledon. Australian Open during that year, being only one of 4 men to ever win those 2 tournaments in the same year, whereas Bayonne's Dick Savitt became the first Jewish athlete to be featured on the cover of Time magazine, was also inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame, whereas Dick Savitt is a sterling example of a Bayonne-born person who made a name for himself in the world of sports and should serve as a role model for the youth of our city, whereas Dick Savitt has been the recipient of many awards and accolades over the years, including the naming of Columbia University's Tennis Center, whereas the Board of Education has previously chosen to overlook the contribution of Dick Savitt to Bayonne and the sports of tennis, choosing instead to name its tennis courts for an individual from a politically connected family with conflicts of interest within the school system, whereas the Board of Education wantonly spent taxpayers' money and resources to erect and unveil a high-priced plaque with a golden patina and a lavish ceremony for the brother of our current school board president at a time when our school district was in the midst of severe ongoing financial scandal, with millions of dollars missing and unaccounted for. Whereas any hint of nepotism and/or political collusion sends the wrong message to students, parents, and taxpayers. Therefore, be it resolved that all tennis courts in the Bayonne School District be renamed and appropriately redesignated the Dick Savitt Tennis Courts in honor of a true Bayonne sports hero and in the recognition of the value of diversity. We have a motion.
I move it. I second it.
And we had a second. Okay. On that motion and second, Trustee Alonso,
I abstain.
Trustee Cruden,
No.
Trustee Desmond,
No reason for it.
Trustee Finerty.
I spoke the last time we tried to pass this, and those tennis courts, trust me, are aptly named. Yes. No.
No. Trustee, gotcha. I know what you meant. Trustee Munoz.
Absolutely not. I mean, you know what? Bill Broderick has done so much for the children of Bayonne. Absolutely not. Those tennis courts will always remain that name as far as I'm concerned. So, absolutely no.
Trustee Ryan?
There's no way in God's green earth this should pass, no.
Trustee Villado?
No.
Vice President Wilbeck?
And Mr. Broderick is Bayonne's hero. And that
Yes.
court will remain Bill Broderick Court as long as Bayonne is in existence. No.
And Mr. Broderick?
I happen to know the guys. So, being I'm involved in this whole whereas thing here, I think I better abstain from this situation.
Okay.
But I am very proud of him, by the way.
Okay, D4 is tabled.
I'll move it.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Okay, hold on a second there, folks. Trustee Munoz, you moved,
I'll move. Well,
Trustee
no, actually,
Des-
no, Trustee Desmond moved in all
I'm
fairness.
sorry.
Yes, that's all right.
and you seconded?
Ms. Finnerty seconded. Sorry, Trustee Finnerty.
Trustee Finnerty, second. Okay. Resolution D4, whereas the ice ring is an integral part of the recreational facilities provided by the Bayonne School District, should always be spotlighted in a favorable and positive manner so that the students and public can continue to take pardonable pride in its existence and operation, whereas Bayonne is a longtime hometown of the Lipinski family, who have contributed much to our community, including over the generations a city fireman, a member of the legal profession, and a gold medal winning Olympic athlete in ice skating. Whereas recent events in the news have tarnished the reputation of the ice ring as currently named and subjected the structure to intense negative publicity, which promises to be ongoing. Whereas Tara Lipinski, who is proud of her Bayonne roots and often made visits to her grandmother, a lifelong Bayonne resident, even after achieving worldwide fame and acclaim, whereas the Lipinski family had to travel to various other cities so as to find appropriate facilities for Tara to train at when she was a young girl, because Bayonne did not have a suitable ice ring at the time. Whereas the later construction of our state-of-the-art ice facility, in conjunction with the career of Tara Lipinski, should serve as a monument to motivate Bayonne's youth, especially young women, as to what they can accomplish if given the necessary resources to pursue their dreams. Therefore, be it resolved that it is only fitting and proper to rename the ice ring the Tara Lipinski Ice Ring in honor of this daughter of determination from a Bayonne family who is an Olympic gold medal winning ice skater, an NBC TV co-host for the upcoming 2018 Winter Olympics in February, so as to ensure the Bayonne Ice Facility is always thought of as a scandal-free sports arena. So we have a motion and a second. On that motion and second, Trustee Alonso.
Aye.
Trustee Cruden.
No.
Trustee Desmond.
God bless Tara Lipinski and her talents and her Bayonne family. Very fond of them, but no.
Trustee Finnerty.
No.
Trustee Munoz.
No.
Trustee Ryan.
No.
Trustee Villado.
No.
Vice President Wilbeck.
No.
President Broderick.
If I can make a little statement, I knew Mr. Corpy. Mr. Corpy was actually brought here from Michigan. He was actually one of the founding fathers of community education when all that began. He's been an integral part in this whole system of making Bayonne a community school system. He was very important in the process of putting down the Bayonne High School Phys Ed Community Ed Center. So what he's done for many, many, many of the youth of Bayonne, and actually us adults, has been outstanding. So I have to say no.
Okay, next up is D5. There's a typo in the agenda. It is February 28th, 2018 residency hearing. Whereas the Bayonne Board of Education authorized committee conducted a hearing regarding students' AP, XP, and HP's entitlement to a free public education in Bayonne. Whereas on February 28th, 2018, the Board of Education heard testimony considered evidence presented by the board administration and the mother of students AP, XP, and HP during that hearing. And whereas having considered the testimony and evidence presented by the board administration and the mother of students, and a witness for the mother of the said students, the board has determined that the mother of said students does not properly reside in the city of Bayonne so as to establish the necessary residence as required pursuant to Title 18A of New Jersey statutes. Whereas it appears at best AP, XP, and HP's mother has been a sporadic guest of Bayonne residents and the children have never resided in Bayonne. Therefore, be it resolved that students AP, XP, and HP are hereby removed from the Bayonne Public School System for failing to maintain the requisite residency as required by Title 18A of the New Jersey statutes. Be it further resolved that the board attorney is directed to serve the necessary notice to the students' parents advising them of their rights to an appeal within 21 days of the date of the notice and other issues required to be provided pursuant to New Jersey statutes and regulations. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
So I have a motion and second on Resolution D5. Trustee Alonso?
Aye.
Trustee Cruden?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Finerty?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Ryan?
Yes.
Trustee Villado?
Yes.
Vice President Wilbeck?
Yes.
President Broderick?
Yes.
We have an add-on, Resolution D6. I'll read it into the record. Whereas representatives of the Bayonne Teacher Association, BTA, and the Bayonne Board of Education have agreed to the language regarding the administration of longevity benefits, which is attached hereto. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the attached agreement and authorizes the Board President to execute said agreement on behalf of the Board. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
So a motion and second on Resolution D6. Trustee Alonso?
Aye.
Trustee Cruden?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Finerty?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Ryan?
Yes.
Trustee Villado?
Yes.
Vice President Wilbeck?
Yes.
President Broderick?
Yes.
The last resolution for this evening, we've moved C5 to non-consent. Let me just take care of an issue of a motion and a second first. On Resolution C5, be it resolved that the following coaches, advisors, Resolution C5, it is on our back bulletin board, and they are hereby appointed for the school years 2017-18 to the positions and salaries indicated pending the outcome of negotiations after their respective names below. Positions are on an as-needed basis. I won't read the full resolution. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
And do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Now, we do have, first, Mr. David Solari. Do you still want to? Okay. And Mr. Nicholas Bracatella, want to pull it? Okay. So we have a motion and second on Resolution C5. Trustee Alonso?
Aye.
Trustee Cruden?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Finerty?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Ryan?
This should be an easy one. Everybody here on this list, without exception, is an exceptional employee. Everybody here gives up their time and their heart. Everybody on this list, again, without exception, goes above and beyond constantly. But unfortunately, there's one name that I can't mention, and it's not fair to mention that person, failed a critical test. Everybody in this country is dependent on see something, say something. That's the backbone. As a retired police officer, the most frustrating thing I ever had to deal with was getting a victim or a witness to speak up quickly. Tell us the truth, the whole truth. Let us know what's going on. That did not happen, whether we like it or not. That doesn't mean that that person should be terminated. That doesn't mean they should be ostracized. What it does mean is that they need time to earn this trustee's trust. I can't do it in good conscience today. No.
Trustee Villado,
Yes.
Vice President Wilbeck,
Yes.
President Broderick.
No.
Okay, Mr. President, that is all I have, but we do have some cards, and I'm going to ask our student to go first. Daniel, your last name? I'm sorry? Isaac. Daniel Isaac, Bayonne High School.
Good afternoon, school members. My name is Daniel Isaac. I'm a former student here at Bayonne High School, and I'd like to talk about safety of our high school. I was Lucy Patrol Captain of last year, Horseman, and as well as a Bayonne Police Explorer. And I believe that we should, besides of course our security, have wonderful security in this building. But I think we should. There's doors through House 1 and 5 that. Some doors are renovated and some doors have white glass. I think we should continue to, I think we should renovate all doors to make it safer. I believe that we should, I believe that outside the parking lot, during school hours, it's open. And I believe if someone walks out or anything, and someone from the outside goes in, I believe it's not safe as well. We can have a school shooting inside a school, we can also have a school shooting outside. And I believe we should, I'm sorry, I'm not prepared today, but I think.
Doing well. You're
You're
doing well.
doing well.
You're
Yeah,
speaking-
you're fine.
You're speaking what we all feel. Go ahead.
What I'm trying to say, I believe in safety, renovation, like renovating an outside school parking lot, renovating some of the school applies like desks, doors, as well as the floor. I also believe in reputation, and I like to say this like small quote, no reputation without an education. And I believe we should do something to make it a better place, because I know Bayonne High School is an amazing place, but we need to do some critical changes. And sorry.
We're in the process of doing this, Daniel. We are in the process of making changes to make things safer. Dr. Wonka was taking
Maybe we could,
If I could
Dr.
interject
Wonka.
here. Daniel, we got the gist of what you done. I worked here at the school. I know what you're talking about. Just on behalf of the board, I just want you to know that safety of all our students, teachers, that's our #1 priority. Nothing else can be done without safety. As soon as these events happen, these terrible events, our Dr. Wanko and his committee already put into progress some changes or formulas. In fact, at the workshop, the 5:30 workshop, he gave a pretty detailed, itemized thing of what we were going to do without going too far as to jeopardize the safety of what we are doing, so we don't tell people exactly what's going to happen. But I think, Dr. Wanko, if you'd like to discuss that.
If it's all right, I will repeat what was said at the open workshop in a condensed form. Everyone, I think, is aware that we have put in the new program with the Bayonne Police where they park and walk. And that's a situation where a police cruiser will stop in front of a school unannounced. The officer will get out, walk around the campus, and will also walk inside the building. That will be done with all the schools in Bayonne. That's just one thing that we're doing quickly. As a student, you notice that we've shut down doors on both sides, and we have a security person at those two doors on both sides when there's a change of class. That's another thing we've changed right away. Mr. Smith, I asked him to get us some prices on walk-through metal detectors for every school in the city, which he has done. We'll be talking about that in closed session. Also, wanding devices as well. We've met with, Assistant Superintendent Lopez is also the director of our safety team for the district. So we have been meeting with various stakeholders to explore a lot of options for the 11 elementary schools as well as the high schools. For example, yesterday we met with Mayor Davis, Public Safety Director Kubert, Police Chief Sisk, City Attorney Coffey, and others to discuss the possibility of assigning a police officer to each school. We've developed a multi-level action plan for school safety, and that will be implemented shortly. The city would be paying for what's called a level 3 police officer that would be assigned to every building. There are other things we're looking at, which would be kind of a lock-in vestibule at every school, so that when someone comes to the school and they show their ID, they can't go into the hallway. They're in a contained area, and they can't get out of that contained area until they're clear. Those are some of the things we're working on now. Mr. Lopez, would you like to add anything?
Daniel, I wish I could talk about all of the different things that we are doing, but I would love for you to come down. Obviously, there's some things in security I would not be able to discuss with you, but anything that you hear, I mean, we get suggestions. You know, anywhere I walk, people are talking about school security, and I just want you to know that we hear you and we hear everyone. We hear every parent, we hear every teacher. You know, there's different programs out there that different districts are using. We're looking at every single one of them to see which one is going to work best with what we're doing already. So I think our school security, actually I know our school security, you know, is as good as anyone's, but we're continuing to get better and looking at best practices. And, you know, we do hear you. And Daniel, not to be repetitive, but we hear you, we hear everyone, and you know, we welcome all suggestions, because that's the only way we're going to improve. So, again, Daniel, you could, you know, contact my office. I'll have you in tomorrow or Friday, and you know, any suggestions that you have is only going to help us improve.
Yes, sir. No, I just wanted to say that, make sure I believe what you said. I think better safety and better renovation reputation would make it a better place.
Excuse me, Daniel, if I might. Oh, I'm sorry. I would just like to tell you, in 1996, 1997, Dr. Walker was principal here at Bayonne High School, and even at that time, safety was foremost on his mind. If you look directly in back of you, there's a retired police officer standing right in back of you. In the hallway, there were police officers only this evening. And I can assure you, everyone sitting up here, the foremost thing on their minds is the safety of the boys and girls that go to Bayonne High School. And it will continue, and it will get better. That's a promise.
Thanks, sir.
Also, Daniel, you did a wonderful thing coming up here tonight and explaining a situation that you feel was important. This goes for everyone that should happen.
One other thing that I think is important to everyone. I don't know if you're aware, but in the high school, our cameras are on 3 different platforms. We've brought in a company already. We've looked at the technology. The new cameras will hold up to 90 days of information. They work individually. We'll be able to get them on one platform, and they will be able to give you live streaming. So the police will be able to see everything that they have to see in the schools. We will be able to see that on every device we have, including our phones. So that's another item we're looking at to make the schools safer. Some of the other things, again, we can't discuss, but I'd be happy to meet with you and Mr. Lopez also.
Daniel, question. Are you a member of the student council?
No, sir.
You should be.
Get
You're
yourself
an excellent
elected.
representative of the student body. So Victor, get an application.
Good luck for Victor's.
Hang out with him?
Next time we'll be prepared.
No,
You're very good.
You were
Thank
fine.
you.
You were great. Good job.
If I may,
Good job.
if I may, Daniel, as a firm believer of the people who do the job come up with the best solutions, perhaps you should be talking to the student council, and maybe there can be a student committee. You know the school as well as anybody does. Suggestions, you're not going to know the op, but you would have valuable input that these are the holes that we see.
Right.
These are the problems we see. You have a perspective that we cannot have. We're blind to what you can see. Have no other choice. I don't go to school here anymore. You might you might have some interesting perspectives that we could use.
You're right. Good job.
Next up is also a question on security, if they still like to ask it. Corrado Di Vincenzo. Corrado Di Vincenzo, 1109 Avenue C.
So, Daniel cleared a lot of my questions up, and I'm glad to see that, there's been a lot obviously being done. I just had a couple questions and suggestions. I have family members in the school, and I often ask them, especially when school shootings arise, one of the questions I ask them is, who do you report suspicious activity to? So maybe a comment by another student, or something on Facebook, things like that. And there wasn't really a designated area or office or person inside the school that they could answer to or go to. So it's basically any teacher maybe that they feel comfortable with. And when these things arise, maybe kids are reluctant to come forward on a matter. So I feel like there's not necessarily training, but they should be informed about, this is the protocol, and this is, who you can go to if, you have a concern. A designated area. You guys know what I mean?
Yes. Dr. Wanka?
Protocol is very simple. You can go to anyone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyone they feel comfortable with. Anyone they don't feel comfortable with. We would rather hear something 50 times than not hear it once.
Right.
So we encourage students to go to the counselor, the teacher, anyone, cafeteria worker, custodian. Just if you see something you know it's saying, if you see something, say something.
Yeah, I just feel that they may, some students may feel more comfortable. I mean, if there was some type of, like if there was some type of designated area, or like a Dropbox, an anonymous Dropbox where they could drop a concern in about anything.
That we could put in the student center, the principal's office, and some other locations. That's a very good idea.
My next question, I know I only have 3 minutes, is I know there's lockdown drills just like there was fire drills, back when I was going to school. Who comes up with the lockdown drills? Does it come from like Homeland Security? Is there, where does the format come from?
It comes from the State Department of Education, and we're required to do a certain amount each year, and they tell us what types to do, such as active shooter, and we even have a thing called tabletop, which is where we sit down and discuss what might happen in a situation. Okay. So they are the ones who dictate what we must do, and we follow it to the letter and beyond. Okay. And we did not have a lockdown as the paper erroneously reported. We had a shelter in place when we had that false alarm. Okay. Shelter in place is quite different. Their instruction is going on. A lockdown is when you are hiding away from the doors. So we did not have a lockdown, we had a shelter in place.
Okay. My next question, and I heard something about it tonight, just talking to my 16-year-old cousin who attends the school, he was talking to me about doors that I guess open in between classes where I asked him, I said, can you skip school in the daytime and come back later in the day? And he basically, and I'm quoting him, he said, if you're slick enough, people do this all the time. They come back without getting caught. So it just brought a bit of a concern to me that, like, a student, I know, there's almost 3,000 kids in Bayonne High School, but a student can leave and then come back and essentially, maybe, I don't know if it's true, but enter through any door, just because maybe it's unlocked and it's during periods where doors unlocked.
The doors are all on what are called mag locks. They're magnetic locks. We do open doors on both sides of the campus so they can travel during change of class. That's the doors we've now restricted the amount we open, and we've placed the security personnel on both sides, so that problem should be alleviated.
Okay. And my last question is, I know there's been a lot of talk about Class 3 specials or retired police officers coming in. I think that's a great idea, because it cuts the response time in half from them having to respond to wherever they are. Less people would obviously get hurt. So is it going to be Class 3 specials, or is it going to be retired police officers?
We are looking at that now, and again, that's some of the areas we won't be speaking in public about until we make a final decision. Okay. But a Class 3 is a retired officer. They must have retired within 3 years, correct?
As of July 1st.
As of July 1st. Currently, it's 5 years.
Okay, all right, thank you.
But they would also have to be trained as an SRO, which is a school resource officer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Mr. Thomas Murphy, 24 East 24th Street.
Thomas Murphy, 24 East 4th Street. I just want to touch base on an absurd motion of renaming ice rink and tennis courts. I'm glad that we have people on this board that put in long hours and long years of service, whether it be a teacher, an ex-teacher, an ex-student, an ex-administrator, that would never see such a ridiculous idea go through. However, I do not think it's such a crazy idea to celebrate the careers of the people that have come out of the Bayonne school system, the Bayonne school system. We have sort of gotten away from our prideful history. Therefore, I would like to recommend to the board that we take into the consideration about the retirement of one of our own, Dane & Hughes football number 3. I think it would be great start to the 2018 school and football year season, and a way for us to show some pride. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Murphy, Dr. Wanko will address that question.
Mr. Murphy, no.
Sorry, Dr. Degnan. I know he's a doctor.
Mr. Murphy, I understand. I played around the same time as Dane & Hughes. I know when he was here, I was also here. A wonderful candidate. Just so you're aware, we do have a committee in place, and we'll definitely look at your suggestions.
All right, that's appreciated. It's been long overdue. And as I said, it's a Bayonne resident. Every time Danny comes in to Bayonne, he reaches out and he wants to give back to the kids. That's somebody that we should honor. Not somebody that goes, this guy, Dick Savitt, Richard said, whatever his name is, he went to El Paso High School.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Next up, Mr. Joe Wyatt, 301 Maple Avenue, North Plainfield.
Joe, I was class of 95. I eat a lot of lunch.
One of the sections.
Out of time? Out of date? Talking too much.
Just so I don't go over my 3 minutes, okay? I sent a letter to you on January the 29th. President Broderick was kind enough to respond, but I don't know whether anybody else read it because I haven't had any conversation with it.
I have read the letter.
Good.
I have read the
We all
letter.
did.
Fine.
We all did. We
We
agreed.
always do.
We agreed the president would respond for all of us, as that's his job.
Okay, well, he responded for all of you, but I don't think you got the point. So I'm going to give it to you short and fast, okay? Dr. McGeehan, in her 17-year tenure as superintendent, created a fascist organization which degraded the quality of education in Bayonne. Fascism is a political philosophy, movement, or regime that exalts nation and often race above the individual, and that stands for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, severe economic and social regimentation.
That's wrong. You should not be defaming the former
Also,
superintendent. I'm sorry.
Mention
That's wrong.
employee or ex-employee.
All right. A tendency toward or actual exercise of strong autocratic and dictatorial control. Oh, okay, then, yeah. You have your heads in the sand. A toxic environment was created. And the evidence for that is, if it was such a great administration, why is Dr. Wanko unbundling it? Okay, there's lots of evidence, and I'm the victim of that stuff. I was denied due process. This 3-minute thing is the suppression of dissent. We were not allowed to dissent on anything. We were punished for it. I'm the poster boy for if you want to get in trouble in this district, do what I do. And all I'm trying to do is make it better for the students of this and give them a good education. And I want the I want the existence of education rather than the appearance of it.
Okay, our next speaker, Mr. Solari, do you want the mic? Okay, Mr. David Solari. Dave, just give your address to our recorder, please. That's all right.
16 Colonial Drive. I come here tonight because there's always a change. All right? Mr. Alonso, there is a change. You're absolutely right. It used to be the Bayonne Ice Rink or the community center back then. We now made it the Rich Corpy Ice Rink. All right? Like Mr. Broderick just talked about, the guy was great. If you don't know Mr. Corpy, I wouldn't talk then. Please, sir. All right? I know the gentleman, and God rest his soul. All right? Now we go to Bill Broderick. Do you know anything about Bill Broderick? Do you, Mr. Alonso? You know nothing, because if you did, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing. Mr. Broderick was a guy that went out and taught people to play tennis, and if they didn't know, they knew how to play later on. All right? He has nephews. I don't know if you know about his nephews. Probably better than him. Better than him. I know his nephews. I grew up with them all. All right? You don't know one thing about the Brodericks. All right? I don't think you do. Do you? Yes or no? You like to make all these resolutions, and they're all useless ones. I'm telling you right now. All right? You're only here for yourself and only yourself. You know that. All right? You know what my mistake was back then? When I supported you for freeholder, and now I got to pay the price because Mr. Lopez comes up to me all the time and says, you didn't support me. My friend, please. Please, you're my friend. Don't do that to me, Mr. Lopez. You know, but he gives me that zing all the time. That was a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes, and you're making that mistake. Stop doing what you're doing. All right? One guy is now resting in peace. This guy, let him enjoy what we have. All right? He put his time in. He put his time in. All right? When I say for a change, you did a change, didn't you? Right? You changed one name to Dr. Alonso. To Alonso, right? You weren't Alonso before then. So let everybody know that. You did a change. Would you go back to that change? Would you go back to your first last name? No. Remember, I worked for your father years ago. Okay? I know a lot about you. You were a baby still. You were born. I watched you. You were born. Okay? So please, do everybody a favor. Resign. Resign. Because you are disrespectful to this school system. You are disrespectful. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, board. Thank you. My time is up.
Yes, thank you.
I will be leaving, but do what you got to do.
Our next speaker, Jamie Lynn, 30 East 18th Street. Jamie is our final speaker tonight.
And forgive me because I am not prepared either, and I'm a horrible public speaker. But I wanted Mr. Wanko, personally. You were my principal many, many moons ago, and you are just as amazing now as you were then. And thank you for taking the security of our children seriously. Mr. Alonso, I bought my daughter a new book bag the other day. A new book bag doesn't sound like a big deal, right? She didn't like it because it didn't have a Hatchimal on it. She didn't like it because it didn't have shimmer and shine. It was a bulletproof backpack. It is bulletproof. Would you like to know how old my daughter is? 6. My daughter is 6 years old, and I bought her a bulletproof backpack. And you're up here trying to change names of ice rinks and of tennis courts. 2 weeks ago, 17 people died in a mass shooting everybody knows about. You don't think that can happen here? It can. It can. Nothing is stopping it other than, what I just said. But again, I'm a horrible public speaker. But even before that mass shooting took place, this Board of Ed, our teachers, our students went through hell. Like I said, even before that mass shooting, you still decided that this was the time to bring up all of this. You are a cancer to this Board of Ed. You are a cancer. We don't need this. Okay, our students don't need it, our teachers don't need it. That's all I'm saying on that part. Mr. Smith, I've been one of your biggest critics, but I want to say something nice to you tonight.
Criticism is good.
Your daughter, Mrs. Fermaniak, has been a lifesaver to my daughter. A lifesaver. So you did something right. You did good. But no, really, my daughter has been, she's been going through a lot of tough medical issues as of late, and your daughter has been her biggest supporter. Your daughter is her cheerleader. Your daughter emails me sometimes 2-3 times a day just to let me know how my daughter's doing in school. So I want to thank you, and I've thanked her 1,000 times, but I could never say enough. I never thought I'd say a Smith is just, but no.
Times have changed.
Times have changed, and you know what? Thank you. Thank you. Thank her. You've done a fabulous job with that lady. Again, Dr. Wanko, Mr. Lopez, Miss Desmond, Finnerty, Munoz, Broderick, all of you. Thank you for doing what you're doing for the security of our children. Dr. Degnan, sorry, Mr. Lopez, I think said thank you. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. That is it for our speakers this evening. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion.
Motion from trustee Cruden, second by trustee Desmond. On that motion and second to adjourn the public meeting, trustee Alonso.
Aye.
Trustee Cruden.
Yes.
Trustee Desmond.
Yes.
Trustee Finnerty.
Yes.
Trustee Munoz.
Yes.
Trustee Ryan.
Yes.
Trustee Villado.
Yes.
Vice President Wilbeck.
Yes.
President Broderick.
Yes.
It is 9 p.m. Trustees, we're back into closed session.